Welcome to Everyday Tarot, your daily dive into the divine wisdom of the tarot. I'm your host, Camille A. Saunders, healer, tarot enthusiast, and your local witch next door. And today I'm talking about tarot and crows. Whether you're a seasoned tarot reader or just starting to explore, this podcast offers daily insights, intuitive messages, and practical advice drawn from the cards. Each episode is designed to help you connect with your inner wisdom, find clarity in your decisions, and tap into the energy of the universe. Tune in every day, Monday through Friday, for fresh perspectives and empowering guidance from the tarot as interpreted by me. If you love the show, the best way to support it for free is by listening daily, leaving a review, and subscribing or following in your favorite podcast app. If you weren't able to attend my tarot card crafting event live or didn't register in time, you can go ahead and get a full hour-long workshop with my step-by-step method, examples of the tarot cards I've created, journaling questions, and a PDF to walk you through crafting your own tarot cards for just $33. You can click on the link in the show notes to purchase that now. I'm offering a 12-week Tarot for Transformation live course this summer, starting at the end of August. So if you're interested in that, you can sign up to get more information as that starts coming out. I just updated my Patreon benefits to be bigger and better than ever. If you want an individual card pulled for you once a month live on the podcast, you can join the Everyday Tarot Patreon family at the lovers level. If you'd like to support the podcast even further, you can get a one-time individual 5-card reading in addition to all the other benefits if you join the Witch Bitch level on the Patreon. If you're local to the Greater Puget Sound area, join me at our next Let's Talk Tarot meetup group event. If you're interested in my free PDF with the 2025 5-card tarot spread I created just for you at the beginning of this year, you can get that by joining my newsletter list. My weekly newsletter always has the most up-to-date information on upcoming events, presentations, musings, and info and photos of my day-to-day life. And if you don't already know, I am a sex and relationships therapist and coach, seeing clients virtually all over from my home office. I love working with queer, poly, and witchy clients. If you'd like to work with someone that doesn't judge you, is witchy just like you, and helps you learn how to deal with anxiety, chronic pain or illness, communication issues, self-advocacy, and sex, head to my website and book a free consultation now to start your journey. You can find the links for any of these offers in the show notes or on my website, CamilleASaunders.com/everydaytarot, in addition to the images of the cards I pull on each episode. All right, so welcome to season 12, where I'm talking all about tarot and animals. If you haven't listened to my other seasons yet, you should check those out. I've talked tarot basics. I've gone through every card in a typical tarot deck of 78 cards. I've talked tarot and pop culture, tarot spreads, tarot and witchcraft, tarot and plant allies, and next season, spoiler alert, I'm talking all about tarot and divination and how it shows up in the Harry Potter series. All right, so like I said, right now we're in season 12, where I'm talking all about tarot and animals, and today I'm talking about tarot and crows. So I will go into a description of the animal, symbolism and animal magic, and then its relation to the tarot. Crows are a bird of the genus Corvus, or more broadly, a synonym for all of Corvus. The word crow is used as part of a common name of many species. Raven is not linked scientifically to any certain trait, but is a general grouping for larger sized species of Corvus, and the collective name for a group of crows is a murder. So there are lots of different types of crows, and we're actually going to talk about the family of Corvus, the genus of passerine birds ranging from medium-sized to large size in the family Corvidae. It includes commonly known species as crows, ravens, and rooks. The species most commonly encountered in Europe are carrion crow, hooded crow, common raven, and rook. These discovered later, or ones that were discovered later, were named crow or raven, basically just based on their size, crows generally being smaller, and the genus name is Latin for raven. So Corvus means raven in Latin. So if you've ever been confused between a raven or a crow, this is partially why. So there are 46 or so members of this genus that occur on all temperate continents except South America and some islands. And the genus Corvus makes up a third of the species in the family Corvidae. Let's see what else. Recent research has found crow species are capable of not only tools, but also tool construction, which is very cool. And crows are now considered to be among the world's most intelligent animals, with some of that equal to many of the non-human primates, which is very cool. I'm going to look up this phrase. It says with an encephalization quotient. So I guess that's like a brain, relative brain size measure defined as the ratio between observed and predicted brain mass for an animal of a given size. It's been used as a proxy for intelligence. So I guess the more that we understand about crows, the more we realize how smart they are, which is very cool. So most, again, birds in this genus range from 34 centimeters, which is about 13 inches, of some small Mexican species, to 60 or 70 centimeters, which would be 24 to 28 inches, of the large common raven and thick-billed raven. So there's a wide variety from, in my terms, from 1 foot tall to almost 3 feet tall when it comes to the different types of birds in this genus. The birds are generally black or darker colors, with some species having some like iridescence to them, while others might have white or gray areas on their neck or torso. Apparently, the species in Australia have lighter eyes. And what else? It describes what they look like. The members of the genus Corvus are believed to have evolved in Central Asia and radiated out there into North America, Africa, Europe, and Australia. So they have spread quite far. Like we said, they are not in South America, which is interesting. It says the fossil record of crows is rather dense in Europe, but the relationships among most prehistoric species is not clear. And it says the genus was originally described by Carl Linnaeus in his 1758 writing. The name is derived from the Latin corvus, meaning raven. And again, it's sort of been described more from there. And there's different kinds of crows, and corvids are found in most major cities across the world. It says a major increase in the number of crows in urban settings has occurred since the 1900s. That's very interesting. Historical records suggest the population of American crows found in North America has been growing steadily since the introduction of European colonization and spread east to west with the opening of the frontier. Crows were uncommon in the Pacific Northwest in the 1900s, except for in riparian habitats, which basically just means like near, it's like the land, but the space in between land and a river or stream. So they're really only found in sort of these like stream bank areas. But the populations have increased substantially in the late 1800s to mid 1900s. And now they spread across all agriculture and urbanization in the western part of North America. So that's very interesting. I didn't know that they have sort of spread as European colonization has spread. So I would say in that sense, they're very tied to humans. I would imagine. Crows gather in large communal roosts, numbering between 200 and tens of thousands of individuals during non-breeding months, particularly in winter. And it says the gatherings tend to happen near large food sources such as garbage dumps and shopping centers. Also, I would say, like, in agriculture, if you see farms or fields, especially like when at least near me, there's lots of fields like that where you can see all the crows go when they've cut down all the corn for the season or stuff like that. The other thing that crows are very well known for, I guess there's a lot of things, but that they make a wide variety of calls or vocalizations. They've been observed to respond to calls of other species as well, and they have learned how to do so. Crows' vocalizations are complex and poorly understood, but people that work with crows seem to, sort of start to understand a bit of what they're talking about. The vocalizations vary by species, and within species they vary regionally. So it sounds like almost like they have dialects in what they, in different sort of caws or calls, sounds. Ravens have also been known to associate with other animals such as coyotes or wolves. It says these associations are linked to feeding and hunting. Ravens use their calls to notify other birds when there's an injured prey is nearby. That's very interesting. The interaction is most noticeable in winter when ravens are associated with wolf packs nearly 100% of the time. That's fascinating. I need to read more about that later. Let's see. So almost they're like wingmen for the wolves, it sounds like. Anyway, so they'll, I bet, be above and sort of be looking out for when injured prey is near, and then call the wolves over to that area to come take it down, and then probably have this symbiotic relationship where then the wolves will feed on it first and the ravens and crows will eat whatever is sort of left over. That's my assumption, just based off of the information right now. Like I said, I'm going to read this source, which is Ravens, the Wolf's Wingman. Made by the Wolf Conservation Center, and published by them, which is very cool. That's in New York that I think I went to with my friends. So that's very cool. And I am reading from the Wikipedia page on Corvus. So I will link it in the show notes, but if you want to read more, there's a lot about their behavior and all sorts of things. So yeah, it sounds like there have been studies conducted on the reaction of prey animals to the call of the raven. And in areas where ravens associate with predators, prey animals are more likely to avoid predation by leaving after hearing the call. So it sounds like the prey also becomes aware that the crows or ravens are kind of on the predator's side. And it says crows are also capable of distinguishing between coyotes and wolves and have shown a preference for wolves. It says this may be due to the fact that wolves kill larger prey. Interesting. It says when hunting, ravens can locate injured animals like elk and can call out the wolves to kill them. At times, ravens associate with wolves even when there is no carcass and can be even seen forming relationships with them. This includes playing with cubs by using sticks, picking at their tails, or flying around them. That's adorable. I need to watch some videos about that. It says ravens have been mostly seen among traveling wolf packs rather than resting wolves, possibly due to the increased likelihood of food. They've also known to trust wolves in the pack they follow. When encountering a carcass killed by animals other than wolves, they're more apprehensive to eat from it. So the symbiotic relationship between ravens and wolves is shown to be mutualistic. Ravens help wolves find prey, and when the wolves kill them, the ravens can eat too. So again, it does seem like they work together. Ravens do steal from other species, like certainly other birds, but it sounds like even in these sort of hunting scenarios sometimes, because by feeding off the same carcass, it's possible that some ravens will steal it from their conspecifics. And it says part of this is because the ravens, their ability to make quick decisions about eating the food then and storing it for later, and to their dominance and fighting ability. I know where I live, I don't know if they talk about that in here, but where I live, we have salmon, and the eagles come for the salmon often more in the winter time, or I guess fall and winter, when the salmon are running. And I always know when there's an eagle nearby because the crows will be attacking them because the crows do not like having eagles, which are obviously like an even bigger predator than crows are, in their local area. They will go, it describes here that part of what they do is that they mid-air jousting or air chicken to establish pecking order. That's like what they do to eagles, is that they like multiple of them will circle around or go and just sort of like dive bomb them, or like go towards them very quickly, and do a lot of like flapping and noises. And usually there's more than one crow, and they sort of work together to like try to force the eagle out of the area. Which is interesting. I don't know, again, if that's because eagles are encroaching on their territory, or if the ravens are wanting to eat the salmon that's there, or if they're concerned about their own young, or something like that. It says crows are omnivorous. Their diets are very diverse. They'll eat almost any food, including other birds, fruits, nuts, mollusks, earthworms, seeds, frogs, eggs, nestlings, mice, and carrion, which is just, dead animal parts. The origin of placing scarecrows in grain fields resulted from the crows' incessant damaging and scavenging, although crows also assist farmers by eating insects otherwise attracted to their crops. Let's see. It looks like crows talking about their babies. Crows reach sexual maturity at the age of 3 years for females and 5 years for males. Generally, the clutch size is 3 to 9 eggs, so kind of how many are laid at once. And the nesting period's between 20 and 40 days, so about a month. While crows typically mate for life, extra pair copulation is not unusual. Crows are polyamorous. And young from previous years often help nesting pairs protect a nest and feed nestlings. Oh my gosh, the polycule, I love. Let's see. It also sounds like a lot of often like the bigger the animal is, I would say like the longer the baby stays with the adults. And it sounds like if they don't reach maturity till 3 to 5 years, depending on their sex, then they're probably hanging around for a while. Let's see. Crows can live up to the age of 20, and the oldest known American crow in the wild was almost 30 years old. The oldest documented captive crow died at age 59. Wow. That is quite old. The American crow is highly susceptible to a recently introduced North American strain of West Nile virus. Wow, okay. American crows typically die within 1 week of acquiring the disease, and very few survive exposure. There are 2 species of crows that have been listed as endangered in the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, the Hawaiian crow and the Mariana crow. It says the American crow, despite having its population reduced by 45% since 1999 by the West Nile virus, is considered a species of least concern. Wow, okay, interesting. I'm looking to see if there's any... There's so much information on them, y'all, so I won't be talking about all of this. Yeah, and there's a lot of like folklore and mythology around crows. In different places, they depict them differently. So we'll talk a little bit about that as we get more into meanings and symbolism. So on TanyaCastile.com, her website, she talks about crows and ravens, and she lumps them together because, again, if we understand the family of Corvus, like they really are under the same genus of bird, and there's a lot of different kinds of them. So generally what you're seeing out and about, they're related, but there's a lot of different kinds of crows and ravens. It says crow and raven, the meaning and symbolism is about being seen and heard. The crow, known for its loud caws and striking presence, symbolizes the deep human need to be seen and heard, and the importance of acknowledging others in the same way. Crows are highly social and intelligent birds, often using their voices and actions to communicate, assert their presence, and ensure they are noticed within their community. This behavior highlights the universal desire to have our existence recognized and our voices validated. To be truly seen and heard means that our thoughts, feelings, and experiences are acknowledged and respected without judgment or dismissal. In our human lives, we can use the crow's symbolism by actively listening to others and offering them our full attention. It also talks about the raven as an emblem of magic and intelligence. In nature, ravens are highly resourceful creatures, using their intelligence to solve problems, adapt to changing environments, and even engage in complex social behaviors. It sounds like as well as literally creating their own tools, which is very cool. The adaptability combined with their role as a symbol of magic offers profound lessons for us as humans seeking to improve ourselves. The raven's intelligence goes beyond survival. It includes deep awareness and perception, symbolizing the kind of wisdom that comes from paying attention to the subtleties in life. In the same way that ravens can recognize individual humans and remember past experiences, we can use our intelligence to reflect on our interactions and learn from them. Every encounter becomes a chance to grow in emotional intelligence and self-awareness. By recognizing patterns in our behavior or the energy we share with others, we can adjust how we move through the world, fostering strong connections and making better decisions. Raven's connection to magic also teaches us to look beyond the surface and tap into the unseen forces in our lives. Magic in this sense isn't about supernatural powers, but about becoming aware of the subtle energies that guide our intuition, creativity, and sense of timing. Ravens often symbolize being at the right place at the right time, aligning with synchronicity. By honing our awareness and being open to life's magical moments, we can learn to trust in the process, allowing things to unfold naturally rather than forcing outcomes. And they actually note at the bottom that Raven has a special connection with wolf that you might want to study. So I know I will be talking about wolves later in the season, and maybe I'll move it up to be the next episode since they like to work together. It's very interesting. I didn't know that before. Okay, so in talking about its relation to the tarot, again, it sort of depends on the mythology, the culture that you're looking at it from. Crows have symbolize transformation, change, and the mysteries of the unknown. They do get associated sometimes with the death card. Because of this, they're seen as messengers. And again, sort of like similar to the death card symbolism of endings and beginnings. Their intelligence and ability to navigate different realms, both physical and spiritual, connects them to intuition and the exploration of hidden truths. So almost like the underworld or shadow side. I have two different decks that depict crows or ravens that I could find. So the first one I'll talk about is the Anima Mundi Tarot deck by Megan Weirer-Wenden. In this one, I could see that there was a crow or raven, someone of the Corvus genus, depicted on the Seven of Swords. which it says, okay, it is a raven. It says Corvus corax for raven. The Seven of Swords is about deception, being sneaky about a situation rather than facing it head on. It may be you or someone in your life who's going behind the backs of others. When drawing this card, be sure to reflect on your intentions and make sure they are pure. So upright, it's about deception, betrayal, selfishness, secrecy, stealth, and being a lone wolf. Very interesting, as we're going to talk about wolves coming up later in the season. So here, right, we have Raven depicted as kind of like trickster, which again, I did see like does come up sometimes with crows or ravens. I think some of that is probably just because of how smart they are. And that I guess they also interact with a lot of other species, right? We talked about their relation to wolves. We talked about their relation to humans, right? They also interact with a lot of other critters, either by being prey or predator. And they do a lot of interaction, which again, I'm sure humans have noticed for a very long time. Let's see here. Okay, so yeah, that was in the Anima Mundi tarot deck. The raven is depicted there. In the Goddess of Love tarot deck, I found there were a couple cards actually, but I pulled two that have Corvus seeming birds on them. So I got the Maiden of Swords, so another swords card, and then Balance, which I will have to look up what the Balance card's equivalent to. Maybe Justice. Yes. Okay, well, we'll talk about that one first because I just landed on that page. But so this is the Goddess of Love tarot deck by Gabriella Herstick and illustrated by Julia Popescu. So this card, Balance, is renamed from the Justice card, and the goddess depicted is Persephone. So here again we have the underworld sort of connection. To walk the path of the goddess means surrendering to the heart without losing the integrity of the mind, and balance of two opposing forces as one of the pillars of the Western mysteries. Persephone, Greek goddess of the underworld and spring, embodies this energy in her role as consort to Hades, the god of the underworld. Love is the reason in Persephone's myths, and as she descends into the underworld as an omen of compassion to those recently departed. Persephone is the shadow and the seed to Demeter, the light and the blossoming of the fruit, the earth mother. As Persephone dwells half the year in the underworld and half on earth as queen of spring, she embodies balance and all the qualities that make sex and love sacred. Balance honors your internal guidance when it comes to matters of the heart. Accept the circumstances that lead you to this moment while also finding peace with where you are. Don't give up, but consider what's in balance before making the next decision. It's not a question of rejecting one experience or end of the spectrum, but of integrating both. Embrace duality as non-duality and allow that totality to lead you through the temple of the heart. So again, we had that connection to the underworld, and sort of there are skulls on this card as well, with Persephone here as being depicted, and the pomegranates. Like I said, the other card I pulled that had Corvus on them that I could tell from this deck was the Maiden of Swords, which is normally called the Page. And here we have the Corvus birds are like in a flock, like they're flying in the air, and they actually form a heart in the air. So that's very cool. So it says the Maiden of Swords takes the power of the mind and thought and weaves it into the body. As the elemental representation of earth, as the Maiden of air, as swords, this page hangs like smoke with its ability to expand and move into new directions without losing the groundedness of the earth and body. The mind can lead you into new dimensions of lust and love in a way that encompasses your whole being. Trust your instincts to guide you. Perhaps there's a partner or important figure who shares perspectives that allow you to move closer to your purpose. Consider shifting perspectives, detaching yourself from only seeing things in one way, the fixed energy of earth in favor of a bird's eye view, which would be the expansive quality of air. Being able to transform your vantage point and your mind is vital. And there's a journal question associated with this card that says, how can releasing my attachment to the outcome help me find peace and presence? All right, so let's go ahead and dive in and see what the cards have to say today. What message does the Corvus have for us today that it wants to share? I am going to pull from the Desert Illuminations Tarot deck by Lindsay D. Williams. I considered pulling from a different deck, but this one was calling out to me today. So Corvus wants me to speak from here. This is a Southwest USA inspired deck with lots of turquoise and lots of Mexican culture and folklore embedded in the deck. Okay, let's see here. What message do you have for us today, Corvus? Okay, I pulled the Two of Chilies, which is equivalent to the Two of Wands in this deck, because they are hot and spicy. That's what always reminds me that wands are chilies. Okay. It says, a cowboy dressed in a fancy hat and poncho gazes out over the horizon from a Santa Fe style adobe balcony. He is looking into the future, contemplating all the possibilities. He is figuring out what his next move will be. This card is about careful planning. Now that you have an idea or spark of inspiration in your mind, you can start to conjure all the details involved in moving forward. Many challenges lay ahead, but you are prepared and willing to take them on. If you feel like you are still confused about the choices ahead of you or whether any of this is worth pursuing, make sure you weigh the pros and cons. You might see that choosing a more difficult path will bring a far better outcome than settling into something easier and more comfortable. Okay. So a lot of transitionary messages, a lot of this balance or going between two worlds or two different things that came up with all of these cards. All right. Well, thank you for joining me today. In closing, if you'd like to join me on the journey of using the tarot for transformation, click on the link in the show notes to indicate your interest in getting more info. It won't commit you to anything right now. So we'll be working together for 12 weeks of calls and journaling to discover what happens when we want to transform our lives through the tarot. Links for the tarot decks I talk about in the episodes will always be in the show notes and on my website if you'd like to look at them or purchase them. And thanks for joining me today on Everyday Tarot. Just as a reminder, the podcast comes out daily, Monday through Friday for all of 2025. You can email me, me@CamilleASaunders.com with your thoughts, questions, and more. All right, see you soon. Bye-bye.